Greetings in the love of Jesus, precious friends. Where are you right now? Are you where you thought you'd be? Are you where you dreamed you would be? 5 years ago in your 5-year plan, is this what it looked like? Are you where you hoped you would be? You know, I'm struck by the different places that David finds himself in after God's call and anointing upon his life. David went from a simple life, watching the sheep out in the fields, to sitting in the royal courts, playing the harp for a crazy king while eating palace food and being surrounded by some of the most powerful and influential men in the country, to being on the run for his life. 1 Samuel 23 verse 14 tells us that David stayed in the wilderness. Of all the thoughts and pictures and dreams and what ifs David had maybe pictured as Samuel's oil dried on his forehead after he had been anointed to be the next king of Israel, I very much doubt that David pictured hiding in the wilderness as part of his journey. It didn't make any sense. He hadn't done anything wrong. In fact, he had only done so much right. Where was God's favor in this? Where was God's blessing in this? I wonder if David saw or even felt God's hand in those dark days. But it was there. See what the rest of verse 14 says. Day after day, Saul searched for him, but God did not give David into his hands. Did you see that? As mighty King Saul, with all of his resources, influence, power, and trained military men, left no bush unturned in their hunt for David, God was there, as he always had been. And David was safe, as he always had been, regardless of his circumstances, regardless of what it looked like, regardless of what it felt like, regardless of the size or the influence or even the reach of the enemy. David was safe because God was watching over him. Just like God had been watching in the field when the lion and the bear came. Just like God had been watching when David stood in front of that enormous giant called Goliath with just a few stones in his hand. Just like God had been when the spear flew towards David at the royal court. Just like God had been in the wilderness. What peace this knowledge brings for you and me today, whether we're in the field or the royal courts or even the wilderness. God is there. The journey may not make sense, and it might even take you further away from the place you thought you would be. You may not even be in a place of your liking or your choosing, but God is there. On this journey, we can always trust the one who journeys with us. We can trust the one who watches over us. We can trust the one who loves us. Psalm 33 verse 18 says, "Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope for his loving kindness." Regardless of where you find yourself today, rest in the knowledge that the Lord's eye is on you. He is watching over you, and he is with you. God bless you.